Pro wrestling is on easy mode right now, and I'm gonna prove it to you scientifically, more or less. Next! I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is Till We Make It. I've been working in professional wrestling for over 30 years now. I've worked in front of the cameras as a pro wrestler, referee, ring announcer, and commentator. And I've also worked behind the scenes in wrestling as a promoter, booker, agent, coach, consultant, and a bunch of other things too. And I'm going to call on the sum total of all these experiences to help me with today's episode of Till We Make It. I am of the opinion that right now, pro wrestling is on easy mode. And to prove it to you, I want to attack this idea from 7 different vectors. And as we work through each of them, I think I can convince you too that pro wrestling is on easy mode. Ready? Up first in this very scientific endeavor that you and I are undertaking, we've got to answer this question. Is it easier to find pro wrestling training than ever before? Well, if we consider the beginning of pro wrestling history to start at the end of the U.S. Civil War, then our art form has been around for roughly 160 years. And it is definitely easier right now than at any past point in those 160 years to find pro wrestling training. It exists on 6 of the 7 continents right now. Here in my home state of Pennsylvania, there's a preponderance of pro wrestling training centers. Down in Peru, you can train as a pro wrestler. Up in Denmark, yep, absolutely. Down in South Africa, you bet. Over in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, yes, 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 yes. And virtually everywhere in Australia that isn't the Northern Territory, there too. And we haven't even started to scratch the surface of all the pro wrestling training that is out there right now. It's never been easier than in this moment. Before I jump into this second one, would you give me just one tap of your finger, please, and leave me a like-a-palooza on today's video? Thanks for doing that. The second vector our scientific inquiry must address is this. Is it easier to obtain show-ready wrestling gear than ever before? The answer to this is yes. And why is that? Because there are more companies than ever before addressing this particular need in the marketplace. There has long been a need for more gear makers in professional wrestling. So much so that there are now entire companies out there that maintain a stock of ready-to-ship wrestling gear that can be sent directly to your door. It could be overnighted if you were willing to pay the additional charge. This is such a massive upgrade from even when I was breaking in 30 years ago, when at most there was 1 or 2 people you could reach throughout your professional network who made boots or made entrance gear. And if they were already full for the season, you sometimes waited months into years to get a new set of gear made. And contacting someone outside of your area was exceptionally difficult to accomplish back in the days of snail mail. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it has never been easier to get show-ready gear than right now. Here's that third vector. Is it easier to have a match in front of a live crowd than ever before? The answer is yes. And why? Well, I think the answer is made up of 3 components. Number 1, more pro wrestling is produced at the corporate level. And there are 3 main levels to professional wrestling, the independent level, the international level, and the corporate level than ever before. The corporate players, WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, produce more wrestling on a weekly basis than ever before. In addition to which, more wrestling training centers now present closed or private showcases. These are events not open to the public, but usually presented only in front of friends and family. This too is an opportunity to wrestle in front of a live crowd. And last but not least, there are more boutique and niche wrestling companies than ever before, catering to very specific but small audiences, and they need to cast performers as much as any of these other players do. Given the confluence of these 3 things, There are more opportunities right now to wrestle in front of a live audience than ever before. Up fourth, is it easier to obtain high-quality photos and videos in order to market yourself than ever before? The answer is yes. Why? Because of the smartphone revolution we've all gone through. We all have supercomputers in our pockets right now. I'm filming this for you on my phone. It's never been easier to get high-quality photos and videos in all of human history than right now. Up next, is it easier to connect with pro wrestling organizations, as well as their decision makers, the promoters and bookers, than ever before? The answer to this is also yes. Why? Because of the modern miracle of the internet. Here we are in the fourth era of professional wrestling, the social media era. Connecting with pro wrestling companies has never been easier. This next one's pretty important. Is it easier to make money in professional wrestling than ever before? Yes. Why? Because the corporate level players are hiring more wrestlers per year than ever before. In addition to which, there are more international bookings and tours to make you money than at any past point. And the independent circuit is more robust than it ever has been in the past, etc., etc. In addition to these main revenue streams, there are more ancillary revenue streams for making money in wrestling. ProWrestlingTees.com. Need I say more? Let's put the cherry on top, shall we? Is it easier to get a tryout or audition with a corporate level player in wrestling than ever before? Yes. And why is this? Because it's been systematized. Back in the day, you had to know someone who knew someone who could maybe get you a dark match before an episode of Raw if you wanted the WWE to take a look at you. Now, you go to the website, you fill out the form, you're in the system. You're in contention for an audition, and you could be done in less than 10 minutes. You want to get looked at by New Japan Pro Wrestling? Reach out to their dojo, and they'll tell you the next time they have an event, like a seminar where their coaches could take a look at you. It's never been a more transparent process than it is right now. We just went 7 for 7. We are ready to publish our findings in Scientific Wrestling Quarterly. Do you agree? Do you believe that pro wrestling is in easy mode right now? Tell me your thoughts down below in the comments. And if this has persuaded you to take the plunge and you're ready to start chasing the dream to begin pro wrestling training, I've got a video to get you totally prepared. It's appearing on screen right now. Click on it, and I'll see you over there.